Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. So in this video we'll be discussing about downstream processing, as you can see on the screen. So this is the last topic for this chapter of biochemical and bioprocess engineering. So if you haven't watched my previous videos, you may give it a watch. I have made an entire playlist under this chapter. So let's just start the video for today. So talking about downstream processing, let's just talk about it's basically a recovery process after all of the fermentation almost gets over. So after the fermentation gets into the last stage, so the last stage which says is the recovery. So how can we recover the products from it? So some of the recovery facts are the complex nature of products, depends on complex nature of products, the biomass concentration, the extracellular nature of the products, the intracellular nature of the products, the many processing steps are involved further there. So there are a lot of steps that are entirely involved in this under the recovery facts. So there must be some of the issues, as none of the processes in fermentation gets solved without an issue. So talking about some of its issues are it is very fragile. Definitely it's very fragile, and it is heat sensitive, and it is present in a dilute aqueous solution. Also it has specialized techniques which needs to be incorporated, and it's definitely a costly process. It's not a cheap process. So moving on with, so we have a basic diagram in front of you, as you can see. So this diagram is from the book Schuler and Carver. So you can just check this out by checking some of its basic parameters. As you can see, the primary factors, which are the size, diffusivity, ionic charge, vapor temperature, pressure, solubility, surface activity, density. So the size depends on how the size mainly determines on how it must be filtered. So there are a number of methods how the process can be filtered. It can be through microfilters, it can be through ultrafiltration, it can be through gel chromatography, it can be through cloth and fiber. Also diffusibility depends on the whatever process it undergoes, such as dialysis or electrodialysis, and depending on the ionic charge, it has whether it has ionic charge plus or negative, depending on the vapor temperature, distillation and freeze concentration. Talking about the solubility, which can be solvent extraction. Talking about the surface activity, which can be foam or bubble fractionation. So there are a number of parameters under which these recovery process works, and depending on the parameters, depending on the size, shape, temperature, these we can purify or recover the products which have been formed. Moving on with this, so let's just take a overview of the entire recovery process. As you can see, so steps in intracellular enzyme purification, we're talking about the purification and recovery process of intracellular enzymes. So let's just concentrate on the term now, intracellular purification or intracellular recovery. So how does this step helps, or how does this step takes place while in intracellular enzymes? So after fermentation, cell removal and concentration takes place. So cells are removed and concentration of the enzymes are taken place, and cells are disrupted. In order to do that, so after disrupting the cells, it follows a step of removal of cell debris, so removal of some of the unwanted particles. After that, we have the protein precipitation of aqueous two-phase extraction. So we have some of the we remove the unwanted stuff, that is by protein precipitation, and we next on to go further on to go for ultrafiltration. So we move on to ultrafiltration for filtering or purifying more of the stuff, and we have next is the chromatographic purification. So we undergo the chromatography step for purifying the thing, and next we have the solvent precipitation. So solvent precipitation is very important at last, and after solvent precipitation we follow the step of dialysis, and through that we undergo the step of lyophilization to get the desired product. So this is a huge process, as you can see. For an intracellular enzyme purification, it is more or less the same for extracellular enzymes as well. Also there are some one or two steps difference between the two, but more or less it's the same. So lyophilization is the last and the for last and the foremost step, which from which we get the desired product. So it's a huge step, as you can see, a lot of processes it undergoes to get the desired product. So definitely it's a costly process, and it's not an easy process to handle. Moving on with this, so let's just talk about the first process which we discussed right now, which is the filtration. So the filtration is the cost effective method, so it's the simplest of the all of the processes. So filtration, as the word suggests, it's the filter basically it filters the unwanted stuff and gets blocked into the filter paper or whatever the stuff we are using it, and filters out the rest of the stuffs. So it's, as the name suggests, we have learned about filtration from our junior classes, and it is the most cost effective and a cheap process. So basically it separates cells, mycelium, large solid particles and suspended solids as well. Also continuous rotatory filters or rotatory vacuum pre-coat filters are there, so through which it does the job. So it does the job of removing some of the larger and some of the cells which are not required, or bigger cells. So moving on with this, we'll talk about some more of the filtration stuff and get into its technicalities. So rate of filtration, so talking about the rate of filtration, so the rate of filtration or the flow of filtrate for a constant pressure in a vacuum, basically for a constant pressure filtration operation determined primarily by the resistance of cake and filter medium. So the resistance of cake is basically the filtrate which gets accumulated on the filter paper due to passage of the filtrate. Basically the resistance of cake is basically the accumulation of all the stuff that gets or the unwanted stuff that gets blocked through the filter paper. So it's basically determined by the resistance of the primary cake. So the resistance of primary cake means that how long or how strong is the primary cake that is formed can resist all of the filtrate that is flowing onto this. So as if the resistance of the primary cake is low, so the cake that is formed may get slid or may pass through the filter paper. If the resistance is strong, it does not allow any of the unwanted particles to pass through the filter paper. So that is it. So that was the resistance for filter paper, and it is given as dV by dt equals to Gc delta small p a by Rm plus Rc into mu. So V here is the volume of filtrate, and A is the surface area of the filter. So A, we see here, so A is the surface area of the filter, and delta P is the pressure drop through the cake and filter medium. So the pressure is the delta P is the pressure drop. So how much pressure it has to withstand the filter, all the unwanted stuff, and the mu is the viscosity of the filtrate. So whatever we are pouring in, so the viscosity of that medium, and Rm is the resistance of the filter medium. So this is the filtered paper or whatever we are using, the resistance of the filter medium, and Rc is the resistance of the cake or the all the unwanted stuff that gets accumulated here. So moving on from here, I hope that was an easy one. That is not much of a difference, and you can just remember the derivation if you want, which might come in your exams. So it's an easy one. So moving on. So let's just talk about the cake resistance. So Rc, we have another derivation here. So we just previously talked about Rm plus Rc. So Rc can be written as uh, Rc can be written as the average specific resistance of the cake, or W by A. So we can see that the value of Rc or the cake resistance is given by average specific resistance of the cake, which is written here, W by A, which is W is the total weight of the cake on filter, and A is the area. Alright, also W can be written as CV. So C here is the weight of the cake deposited per unit of the filtrate. So definitely the area per amount of area it's covering. So RC is written as this thing, W by A, and W can be written as CV. Alright, moving from this, so let's just talk about the Routh equation, so which is the most important part of this video. So talking about the filtration, let's just cover the Routh equation as well. So so the filtration very much correlates with the Routh equation. That's why I wanted to make the separate video for this. So I'll be talking about the Routh equation entirely in this, and I won't be discussing furthermore from there on. So talking about Routh equation, as you can see, so the constant A yields, so this is all of these, this is the same as we just discussed about all of the filtration stuff and the rate of filtration, as you know, as we have done about this. So we talked about dV by dt equals to Gc alpha delta P by Rm plus Rc. So Rc can be written as this thing as we just studied now into mu. So this is the basic thing that we just studied right now. All right. So to derive Routh equation, it's a very simple equation. So we just need to integrate this particular equation with boundary conditions from v equals to 0 and v equals to v, and t equals to 0 to t equals to t. So after integrating, we get this term v square plus 2v v0 equals to kt, where v0 equals to v0 can be written as Rm by alpha c into a, and k can be written as 2a squared by alpha c mu into delta p into gc. All right, these are some of the broader terms that you might need to remember. All right, considering the derivation of Routh equation. So after we integrate this particular equation, we get this thing in which v0 is this and k is this from there on. So the constant pressure filtration, so the Routh equation has a graph of this particular thing. All right, so this is the graph for Routh equation, which is in which t by v equals to 1 by k, which can be written as, we just studied about, v squared equals to 2v v0 equals to kt. So which can be written as, further written as this thing. So t by v equals to 1 by k in bracket v plus 2v0, in which the graph is given as this is the particular Routh equation graph. All right, so which has a slope of 1 by k and which has a y-intercept of 2v0 by k, and the y-axis is t by v and x-axis is v. So this is which yields a straight line, as you can see. So your Routh equation yields a straight line not from the origin. All right, and values of Rm and A are calculated experimentally. Determined values of, so basically you can calculate Rm and alpha values as per the values, if any of the values are provided to you. So this is a very easy thing from the slope and the y-intercept. So moving on from this, so let's just talk about further from the filtration stuff. So we just talked about Routh equation. All right, so drum rotates at a basic, let's just talk about the rotating drum filter. All right, so before moving ahead, so we'll be talking about this will be the last part for this video. I'll be continuing the more of the processes which I earlier discussed about the recovery process in the next video. So talking about the rotating drum filter, drum rotates at a constant speed of n rps, and the fraction of drum's surface area is immersed in suspension reservoir, which is given by phi, and the period of time during which filtration is carried out is given by phi by n per revolutions of the drum, so which can be represented by this. So this is not important, but this is just a derivation for your information. All right, where v comma e is given by this thing is given by, or this thing is given by filter rate volume per unit, which is volume per time, and v dash by n. So the entire v dash by n represents the volume of filtrate filtered for one revolution of the drum. So this is the thing for rotating drum filter. So basically rotating drum filter, as the name suggests, it is a rotating drum filter, and basically the speed matters here. So which is given by n rps, and the fraction of drum surface area is immersed in a suspension reservoir. So how much it is immersed, that much, that accordingly it works. Moving on with this is some sort of filtration graphs. As you can see, so this is the filter rate volume and filter rate aid in need, so it depends on the time. All right, so these are not important graphs, but depending on how it works. So these are pH related graphs, and these are concentration related graphs, how dense or how less dense it is. So this is the effect of pH, and this is the effect of filter rate. On with this, so this is the last part of this, which is the numerical part. So I just taught you the Routh equation. All right, so accordingly I provided you values for that. So you may try this question out. If you cannot, you may just type your doubts in the comment section. I'll definitely help out, and if there are too many doubts, I'll make a separate video for this numerical only. So you can just try this numerical out, though it is not that tough, but you may just give it a try. If you cannot, please let me know. So let's just keep this video till here. I'll be back with another video very soon, and we'll be continuing from here on. So thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned for more.